Good Monday afternoon, and thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. New today, President Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth speaking out on the objectives of Operation Epic Fury after U.S.-Israeli airstrikes on Iran. This comes as Iran retaliates with attacks on Israel, Kuwait, and Qatar. Tomorrow, Congress will return with many lawmakers demanding a vote to stop President Trump from continuing any military action without congressional approval. NBC's Alice Barr has the very latest.
Pentagon confirming 3 U.S. Air Force fighter jets crashed in Kuwait, mistakenly shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses during active combat under Iranian attacks. All 6 American crew members ejected and were recovered safely. It comes amid growing violence in the Middle East, with Israel and Iranian-backed Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon exchanging fire, following this weekend's U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran. The administration speaking out today.
This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime.
This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it.
Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in the Saturday strikes, and now 2 sources briefed on the matter tell NBC News the attacks were timed based on intelligence Khamenei would be at a meeting with senior leaders. As Iran strikes back, now 4 American service members are confirmed killed in action. U.S. officials tell NBC News they were part of an army unit based in Kuwait. 4 others were seriously wounded. President Trump mourning the losses while warning.
Sadly, there will likely be more.
The president told NBC News in a phone interview he decided to act because Iran was unwilling to say they would not have a nuclear weapon following weeks of negotiations. Lawmakers return to Washington tomorrow for the classified briefings many are demanding, largely split on party lines.
I think the president has started a war of choice.
The mothership of terrorism is sinking.
Across this country, Iranian Americans hoping for freedom, while protesters fear a spreading conflict. Lawmakers are expected to vote this week on a war powers resolution that would require President Trump to get approval from Congress before taking further military action. Democrats expect some Republicans to join them, acknowledging it would be a close vote that they say would send an enormous message. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
As we track those latest developments, we're also following reaction from our local lawmakers. Senator Amy Klobuchar said in a statement, quote, "John and I are holding the families of the American service members killed and wounded in action in our thoughts today. We honor their bravery and sacrifice." And on Facebook, Republican Congressman Pete Stauber wrote, quote, "Their courage and service remind us of the profound cost of freedom. I'm holding their grieving families in my prayers, and I'm also praying for recovery of the wounded." Right now, the price of oil surging in response to the fighting in the Middle East. Experts say we could see price hikes at the gas pump as soon as today. Just in the last few hours, AAA released today's outlook on gas prices. You can see right now the national average just under the $3 mark, sitting at $2.99. So far this year, the national average has not exceeded $3, but experts think it could happen soon. Right now, the man charged with killing 15-year-old Deshaun Hill 4 years ago is back in court for sentencing. It comes about a month after Cody Forencamp took a deal, pleading guilty to second-degree murder during a retrial of his case before the jury could even be seated. Forencamp shot and killed 15-year-old Deshaun Hill Jr., a star athlete at Minneapolis North High School, in February of 2022. Hill had been walking home after an early dismissal from school when the two bumped shoulders. Forencamp had previously been convicted of the murder in 2023, was sentenced to 38.5 years. However, that conviction was overturned because of legal questions with how his police interview was obtained, and that was a key piece of evidence. He's now expected to serve 28 years in prison, 10 less than his original sentence. Developing right now, dozens of people arrested at the federal Whipple building after the Hennepin County Sheriff declared a protest unlawful. It happened on Sunday when deputies said dozens of anti-ICE protesters were blocking roads, throwing glass in the street, and throwing water bottles and rocks at officers. 38 people were cited. One person was taken to jail. Protesters were calling for the federal land to be returned to Native people. They say the land where the Mississippi and the Minnesota rivers meet is an important part of Native culture that has been used by the federal government to intern Indigenous people in the past. Today, we are learning new details about a mass shooting in Austin, Texas that killed 2 people and injured a dozen more. The FBI confirmed the tragedy is being investigated as part of an act of as a potential act of terrorism. Officials say the shooter, a 53-year-old from Senegal who became a naturalized American citizen, was wearing clothing with the Iranian flag design and the words "Property of Allah." Police say he started shooting just before 2 a.m. in a busy downtown entertainment district and continued down the street with a rifle until officers responded. He was shot and killed. The city's mayor says he is heartbroken.
Obviously an extremely significant moment and a very significant event. It is one that has brought significant trauma to our city, and our hearts go out to the individual victims and their families as a result of this event.
Authorities have not given a clear motive for the attack just yet. The FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force has now joined that investigation. Happening today, a major legal case in the music industry underway. The Department of Justice is suing Live Nation, claiming it is a monopoly and that it uses its dominance over live shows to hurt competition and increase ticket prices. Live Nation, which merged with Ticketmaster back in 2010, denies those claims. If the Justice Department wins, it could ask a judge to then split up the 2 companies. One of the largest hospitals in the Twin Cities could soon close its doors, and for good. Hennepin County Medical Center says even after cutting multiple programs, jobs, and expenses do continue to rise. And now they're calling on state lawmakers to help. Ian Russell has the latest.
Known for emergencies, now facing a crisis of their own.
We have to take steps or we're not going to be around.
The Hennepin County Medical Center looking to dig out of the red as financial issues continue to plague the hospital.
Every 2 weeks, the county is helping the hospital make payroll. That is really, I can't get more dire than that.
Jeffrey Lundy, a Hennepin County Commissioner and chair of the Hennepin Healthcare Board, says they've already made cuts of nearly $50 million. Add in another $2 billion in cuts to Medicaid reimbursements over the next decade, and Lundy says the risk of shutting down is going up.
January 1, we start with $170 million hole that we have to account for.
And then we have an update from Hennepin County.
Earlier this week, Hennepin County Commissioner Angela Conley updated the Senate Health and Human Services Committee on the hospital's finances.
Without revenue to replace the ongoing losses, the hospital will not remain open.
The legislature is important. Lundy says they'll need to be the ones to approve their proposal that could keep the lights on.
We are not asking for money. We have a solution.
That would require an increase on the ballpark sales tax from about 3 cents on a $20 purchase to 20 cents. Lundy says that would generate roughly $280 to $320 million a year for the hospital. A crisis Lundy says they can work through, hoping to avoid a bigger problem if they're forced to close.
We have to leave this May into session with a plan, or else probably in June we have to start making choices that we all don't want to.
Now, there have already been several cuts made, including to some services, as well as laying off 100 people last month. Lundy says they still need to cut somewhere between $100 and $150 million more dollars on top of the roughly $50 million that they have already cut. Measles cases are rising significantly in the U.S. In just the first 2 months of the year, the U.S. has surpassed more than 1,100 cases. Now, those numbers released by the CDC are 6 times higher than what we normally see in an entire year. About 96% of the cases are in people who are unvaccinated or not fully vaccinated. Right now, the Minnesota Health Department is reporting 10 cases in our state. And this afternoon, it has been more than a month since Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, went missing. Right now, local and federal officials still have not publicly identified a suspect. Today's show host Savannah Guthrie and her family have now offered a $1 million reward for information leading to their mother. The Pima County Sheriff says it is still following many leads. A new report shows most American public school teachers have a second job. The latest Gallup survey released today found 71% of teachers have at least one extra job. 85% of that group keep that job all year, not just during breaks. About a third say the extra job has nothing to do with education, and only about 28% of teachers say that they are living comfortably with their household income. The average teacher salary last school year was about $72,000. A change coming soon for Target shoppers. The Minneapolis-based retailer says it will only carry cereals made without certified synthetic colors. The change is expected to start in May and applies to store and national branded products. Target says its sales data shows a long-term shift toward foods without those artificial additives, particularly for products that people buy for their kids. Well, you have just hours to get your permanent fish houses off the lakes. Anglers in the southern two-thirds of the state have until 11:59 tonight to remove them. In the northern third of the state, you have a couple more weeks. When you clear the lake, officials say make sure you take your trash with you as well. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.